Welcome to Grit and Legacy, the Sackett Sagas. Real stories from real Americans, the grit, the struggles, the triumphs, and the legacies that built them, and the ones that will build you. Today we're in Scottsdale with Dave Alford, the beating heart behind the Scottsdale Rodeo and its living museum. Dave watched this land go from open ranch country to one of the most iconic western towns in America, all while protecting its soul, saving its relics, and lifting up thousands of young athletes who learned what honor and heart really mean. This is a story of legacy preserved and lives forever changed.
All right, Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for letting us stop by and do this interview with you.
Absolutely.
Dave, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Where were you born and raised, and what are some of the very first memories of this land when it was still all open ranches and farmland?
Well, you're going way back, yeah. For 73 years, I've pretty much lived here in Old Town Scottsdale. I was born and raised a couple blocks from here. We're in Old Town right now on 2nd and Brown. And as a young kid growing up here, it was an agricultural town. It was field after field of alfalfa and cotton and a whole lot of citrus, and some of the citrus trees are still here. But it was a great place to grow up in the early 50s. I was the youngest of 5 kids, so I had that privilege of being the youngest, and I could get away with more stuff than my brothers could. But we worked hard, and my dad worked for Salt River Project and ran all the irrigation system here in Scottsdale, which was a very, very big deal and prestigious position because water is so precious. And so it was just a great agricultural place to grow up, and that's where kind of our rodeo roots started in the early 50s here in Scottsdale. And proud to be part of it, and still call Scottsdale home. Me and all my 5 kids were born here, and so we love Scottsdale and trying to keep that little piece of the most western town alive. The west part, we're going to keep it going here in Scottsdale.
Yeah. So just kind of to take it back, and we've had this conversation before. I mean, Scottsdale is one of the biggest, most developed cities, but back when you were a kid, I mean, it was just completely different, right? Just kind of broad explain what Scottsdale used to look like. I know we kind of have this mural behind you, but yeah.
Well, what takes me back there, your question takes me back to the early 50s when the Chamber of Commerce decided to have a festival. They call it the Sunshine Festival, and it started in 1951. I wasn't even born yet. And within 2 years, and it was held in November, within 2 years, it got so big that it was out of their ability to manage it. So they got the Scottsdale JCs, which is a newly formed JC chapter, to take it over. And hence the Parada del Sol they changed the name from the Sunshine Festival to Parada del Sol, which means walk in the sun. Which the parade was mostly locals. We just jumped on our horses, and people had wagons and some old cars and that type of thing, and made a parade out of it. And then by 1953, 54, when the JCs completely took over and added a rodeo, there was always a horse show. They called it the horse rodeo, but in 53, the Parada del Sol rodeo started also. So it was our Super Bowl. It was our biggest, it was everything for us. It was the biggest day of the year, the biggest week, because it was every weekend during the 50s and 60s. We had Western Weeks, which was every weekend in January. And they had shootouts and a mock hanging, and you had the dirty shirt gang was the bad guys, would rob the bank, and then the good guys would arrest them. And Amanda Blake from Gunsmoke, she loved our events here, and she was part of it. She was the saloon girl, of course, and then Dick Van Dyke was part of it. He was the judge, and he would fine you if you weren't dressed Western. You got fined. And or put into the mock jail. They had a mock jail. Then it cost you $1 to get a booster pin to get out of jail. So it was a good way for the JCs to make $1 off of all the tourists. But it just became such a part of as kids and adults here. All the businesses loved it because it brought people to town. And even in high school, when I was in high school in the 60s and 70s, you had Western weeks, and it was the only time that the girls could wear jeans, because it was a dress code and they had to wear skirts or dresses. So they looked forward to Western weeks so they could wear their Levi's back in the 50s and 60s. And so it was just such a big part of what made Scottsdale what it is now. It's a whole different, it's not a town anymore. I still call it town. It's a big city,
yeah,
with the entertainment district and baseball and spring training and car auctions and huge other horse shows. But the original one, the very first community event in Scottsdale, was the Parada del Sol. And
yeah.
We're proud to keep it going.
Yeah, that's amazing. What did a typical day look like for young Dave growing up in early Scottsdale? The smells, the sounds, the cowboys, the families who made it feel like home.
Well, when I got a little bit older, I kind of took it, I'm not going to say advantage, but I learned that all these dairy farms that are around there, the Schraders, the Zimmermans, the Hydukes, they all had dairy farms. And they don't want the calves. They want the cows to have babies so they can keep producing milk. But, they would sell them off or whatever. So I learned as a young man, probably 12, 13 years old, for $1 a piece, I could buy these calves. And we'd put them in the back of the truck and take them home. And I had to bottle feed them for months. And I'd raise them up, and in less than a year, I could sell them. And I was probably the richest 12-year-old kid in Scottsdale, because you get a lot of money for those dairy cows when they got, grown up. And so that was always kind of fun for me, not so much the money, but I did enjoy it because I bought me a 49 Packard when I was about 14 years old from my dairy cow money. And in all the years I did it, I never lost one calf. And that's
wow.
Really kind of fun for the fact that you usually got about a 50% loss rate on those day-old calves. So it was just such a fun place to grow up, in the dirt roads and the irrigation laterals and ditches and trees in between them, and the local restaurants, the Los Olivos restaurant, Tico Taco, China Lil's. These are small family-owned restaurants that it was just such a treat for us to go to these local restaurants. Yeah. And now there's big chains of restaurants here, which is fine, but some of those small restaurants are still here.
Yeah.
Like in Los Olivos.
Yeah,
and they're still right here in Old Town Scottsdale.
Yeah.
So that was the culture and the friends. This was all Mexican barrio right here in Old Town Scottsdale. It was the farm workers, and they had their own community, and it was just a fantastic place to be part of that. And you still see it today here in the Noriega building in Los Olivos, and the Mission Church, which was Our Lady of Perpetual Help, was when they first built that church. And the Hispanic community built it in 1933. The Corral family that owns Los Olivos, Alvaro Corral and Tomas, they're the ones who built that in the 30s.
Wow.
So they had a church right here in Old Town Scottsdale. So that was our culture, and it was very tight-knit. And it was just a great place to grow up. Everybody kind of looked out for everybody. You didn't lock your doors. You didn't have to worry about somebody stealing your bicycle. You just left it wherever you needed it when you came back to it. And so it was just really a small town America that a lot of people back east had a different view of what it was like out here. But it was just really, really a great place to grow up. It still is.
Yeah. No, it definitely sounded like a great place to grow up and live and have that community. Was rodeo already in your blood, or did a specific moment or person first light that fire in your heart? Walk us through, how that grabbed you.
Well, as kids, we always had a horse or two, so we would tear around town on the horseback. And then my dad was part of Parada del Sol when they brought the PRCA rodeo in. So as kids, we hung out in the arena when the dads worked and building the fences and making the chutes. So you really looked forward to the rodeo, but most of the locals didn't participate in it. They just helped produce it and put it on. Well, once we got a little bit bigger, then we saw these rodeo stars, your Larry Mahans and your Dennis Reiners, and we wanted to be part of that. It was like, that's pretty cool. So we started dressing like them. I'm 12, 13, 14 years old, and you see these flamboyant rodeo cowboys. So we started dressing like them, and then buying equipment and getting a bull rope and getting on some dairy cows, trying to learn to be a bull rider, you know, and so it slowly became a big part of our life, and ended up being a bigger part of my life than I thought it was going to be at that stage.
Yeah. You've watched Scottsdale transform from pure ranch country to the city it's today. You know, what are some of the parts of Scottsdale today that still feel like it did back then? Is there anything that still, I mean, I know there's a lot of history here, even though this building's changed, but
right.
what are kind of like the highlights of the parts in town, you know?
Yeah. It's a great question, and it's a little hard to answer because there's still small pockets that remind me of old Scottsdale. And I keep mentioning Los Olivos, and you got the Mission, Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and the Little Red Schoolhouse. Now, all the buildings in Old Town Scottsdale, right on Main Street, look the same as they did. Pretty much look the same when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. There's just different businesses in them. You know, you get the
different
Rusty
signs.
Spur and a few of them down there. Patty's, First Avenue Lounge is where the locals go, and then Porter's, which they have done a great job on. Porter's was a Western wear, and they've taken it, and Gray and his family has taken it and to preserve the building and turn it into a local tavern. So that's fun to see that building. It's still got the horse on top, which was there when we were kids, and we'd get in trouble for climbing up on it on Parada and Parade Day, and it's still there. And then when you go north, you get up to Shea, and you got Handlebar J, and you got some of those businesses and establishments that were there. And but it's so built up, it's hard to recognize. McCormick Ranch, you know, it was a working ranch when I was a kid, and Gainey Ranch was too. And but now when you get up, now you have to go up to like Rio Verde to get out of the city. And it's great to see all the horse properties and stuff still up there, and there's some fantastic horse trainers that still raise, and there's local people that just have your backyard horse. Yeah. And you know, I love to see that, because that's what teaches these kids. We really, in our rodeo, we really focus on the youth, and so what they see now, they can do when they get older, like me, can remember that the way it was, and keep that spirit alive, especially in the rodeo world. Yeah,
absolutely. The famous cowboy sign at the corner of the Scottsdale Road and Main Street has been welcoming people to the westmost western town since, I believe, 1952. What's the full story behind that sign? How did it come to be, and what does it mean to you personally after all these decades?
Well, the cowboy there is I've got some great articles that tells you some of the names that people wanted to call it.
Yeah.
And it's never really had an official name. I have an article here, they called it the JC Cowboy for many years. At one point they wanted to call it Howdy Dave. And but it's the image itself is Harvey Noriega, which we're in the Noriega building right now, and he's in this beautiful mural that's behind me. And he was an old cowboy. He was a young cowboy when he came to Scottsdale and went to work for the DC Ranch as just a hand. Well, within the decades, he became the foreman of the DC Ranch, but he lived here in Old Town. So he would ride his horse all the way to the DC Ranch or drive his truck or whatever to maintain the ranch. But he was actually the model that they built we called it the 10 Cowboy back then, and the corner cowboy, and he was the actual model for it. And here at the museum, we have some great pictures of what images they used to make that. Oh, there's a few times over the decades where they changed the face and stuff, but I'm happy to see it back to looking like Harvey Noriega.
Yeah. Is there any story there also with the City of Scottsdale logo as well?
Yeah, same cowboy.
Yep.
Harvey Noriega. We've got a picture here again in the museum of Harvey riding a bronc. And it's kind of hard to tell, but we're pretty sure it was Payson, Arizona in the 30s. And then the city of Scottsdale, the town, had the Brown family, which Brown Avenue is named after, owned the DC Ranch. Their daughter, I'm not sure the whole story, but their daughter drew it out, and that eventually became the Buck and Horse Cowboy. The city of Scottsdale's official logo is Harvey Noriega.
Yeah, and that's the old stable that we're sitting in right now.
Exactly. His house was right here.
Yeah.
And he was the coolest guy. As a teenager, we all looked up to him because he was such a great cowboy. He was about 130 pounds and just a great cowboy, great hand. We have his saddle here from the 1930s and the documentation of when he bought it. And but he was just the coolest guy and taught us so much about being a cowboy, and we'd rope and sit in his front yard and rope, and he would teach us so much, and he was just such a pillar of our community at the time. He was just a great guy.
Yeah. The Arizona Rodeo specialty license plate is now on cars all over the state. How did that come about, and what role did you and Scottsdale Rodeo play, and what does it mean to you that families are carrying the spirit on their bumpers every day?
Well, the plate is near and dear to my heart. During COVID, I had way too much time on my hands, so kind of stay with me. My story jumps around a little bit because I didn't know how this worked, So I looked into it, and I saw these license plates. I saw license plates for the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks and all the veterans, and it's awesome. And I didn't see one that said Save the Whales, but we don't have whales in Scottsdale, so we didn't have the Save the Whales one. But there wasn't a rodeo one. And so I went to the legislature, and Joe Chaplick, who is our representative here in Scottsdale, he said it has to be written up as a bill, and it has to go through the House and the Senate and all the committees, and then the governor has to sign it. And so we did all that. We got it, and I had to go several times down to the legislature and answer questions about rodeo. And it was fantastic. The governor signed it, Doug Ducey signed it. So if you want a rodeo plate to show you support a rodeo, it costs you $25 extra on your license. You can get it any time. You don't have to wait for your tag to expire. And then you get your plate, and you can personalize it also. So you get your plate, and then it costs you $25, and 17 of that dollars comes back to the museum here, which 100% of that goes into our scholarship fund. So it's very exciting for us. We're in our third year of having the plate, and it draws significant cash that we can help these kids with it.
That's amazing.
And I don't like to talk about this part, but with the artist that drew and designed the plate, came in here, took hundreds of pictures, and he actually used a picture of me riding in the Scottsdale Rodeo in 1971, riding a bull there. It's on the plate. So that's pretty exciting. My kids think it's pretty neat.
So, so Mr. Dave Alford is the one on the plate.
Yeah, and what's the best part for me is I'm on the bull. I'm not falling off.
Yeah, amazing.
I fell off a lot over my 10 years of riding bulls. So.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's watching, we'll definitely have a link if you live in the state of Arizona where you can go and get your Arizona specialty rodeo plate and help support the scholarship for the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us the full story of how the Scottsdale Rodeo Museum came to be, why this specific location was chosen. You kind of hinted at it, but just what heritage that lives in these walls and grounds, and what it felt like when the dream finally became a reality and where we're sitting here.
Yeah, so in 1985, the Scottsdale Rodeo, Parada del Sol, moved to Rawhide. And we gave up our rodeo grounds here in Old Town. We'd been at Old Town right next to the baseball stadium for 30 years. And the rodeo outgrew it, and the city needed the land. And it was perfect because Rawhide was a really good place to put on a rodeo. And we stayed there for almost 10 years, and then we moved to Westworld, and we've been there ever since, 30 plus years at Westworld. Fantastic, fantastic place. So when we gave up the clubhouse and the rodeo grounds at 85. We didn't have a lot of place. We spent a couple years at the old boys club. We had that building on Jackrabbit, but there wasn't a place for most of the artwork. And then my dad had such a collection of saddles and stuff like that. So most of it sat in my barn for 8 to 10 years, maybe. I don't know how many years. And this building came available. It took a couple years to come to agreement with the city. They tried other things in here, and they kind of rolled the dice and said, Dave, let's give it a go, and lease me this building here on 2nd and Brown, and brought the artwork and the saddles and the spurs, and I have programs, almost all the programs back to the early 50s. It's so fun to look at those and see who was a sponsor then and who's a still sponsor now in Old Town Scottsdale. So this museum has just become a life of its own. It's got its own heartbeat. People come in here and they might have went to Scottsdale High or Coronado or whatever, but they go, oh, I remember that picture. I remember riding in the Parada del Sol, and I marched in the band, and you know, there's just brings back so many memories to people that grew up here. So this has just become such a sanctuary for keeping that little piece of Scottsdale, the west part.
Yeah.
We're gonna do our best right here at the old museum.
It's amazing. The museum is full of relics that most people never see anywhere else. Walk us through some of the most meaningful pieces and kind of tell us the story behind. I know we have his saddle, but
Yeah.
what are your top 5 favorite?
Well, my
pieces in here?
favorite, my old chaps that I wrote in are hanging in here. But the funny story about them was I had my name put on them on the bottom. And there was a time in the 70s where I needed the money, so I tried to sell them. So I took my name off of them, but you could still see the silhouette. It said Dave, and all my buddies go, unless you find some guy named Dave, he's not buying those chaps. So I'm glad to this day that I didn't sell them, because I still have them hanging here. But my most favorite thing that I have in here, Dennis Reiners was the 1970 world's champion saddle bronc rider. Very charismatic guy, one of the first guys to fly his own airplane to rodeos. He was in several movies as a rodeo star, one called The Honkers, and he was a big part of that movie. But he lived here. He didn't grow up here. He grew up in Wisconsin, but or Minnesota, excuse me. But he lived here since early 20s, and he was world's champion. We all just looked up to this guy.
Yeah.
So in 1965, he won what's called the average at the National Finals Rodeo in the bareback riding, even though he was a bronc rider. So this is his rigging right here. And the coolest thing ever, when he passed away, his wife donated this to me. So in 1965, he won the average at the National Finals with this rigging right here. And they're just so different to today's rigging. But it's got his name stamped on there, Dennis Reiners, in leather. But the coolest part, he's got an elephant on this side, he's got a donkey on this side, and he said, I like my bronc riding just like I like my politics, right in the middle. And so that's the Dennis Reiners from 1965. That was donated by the Salt River Rodeo Company and Dennis's wife.
Wow.
So that's my favorite piece. That all the Trevor Duhan, world's champion bulldogger. This is one of his saddles, and when he won the high school in Louisiana, this is his high school saddle. So it's just, so much history in rodeo across the country.
Yeah, you got a lot in here. So starting to take over and growing the rodeo and the museum into what they are today, obviously wasn't easy. What were some of the biggest challenges or moments you thought this might be the end, and what kept you in the fight?
Well, without getting political, there's a big battle right now on whether or not they're going to do the parking structure, if they're going to expand that. And that could be really harmful to the museum here. They tell me that this building is going to be safe, but if there's 2 years of construction there. But they really haven't had that many challenges. We do cowboy music out here. We have a beer gardens a couple times a year, and word gets out, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and the community supports it, and the locals that grew up here support it. So we haven't had a lot of big challenges other than You know, look into the future. You don't know what the future is going to bring, so you can't worry about it too much. But we rely on good fortune that everything will be fine and we'll be able to stay here for a long time, so that people can come in and enjoy the history. And so many of them, when they come in, they're like, "We had no idea." You know, it's like, please come back, and then we make fans out of them.
Yeah. You made a fan out of me, and just hearing the story and seeing the pictures, and I mean, it's definitely something. I mean, it's a small part of the history of our country and of Arizona here, and it definitely needs to be.
Yeah, the Americanism and the patriotism of the whole rodeo is so popular right now. You can say Yellowstone or whatever, but it's always been there. It's been there. They just maybe brought to the surface, and you see those guys like Mo Brings Plenty and Forrest Smith, people that are under. They didn't get actors; they got real cowboys. Yeah. So you really see it's pretty dang accurate, and you come to our rodeo and you're going to see we start every rodeo with God and a prayer, and then patriotism with the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. Almost every rodeo starts that way. We pride ourselves in making it a little more pageantry, and but it's very basic. Our rodeo is a super basic, good old school rodeo. We don't let the ground on fire. We don't do a bunch of fireworks. We start out with turning out 30 broncs out there, so let them run and see the arena, and kind of takes the breath away of some of these people who've never seen something like that. So we keep it real basic. It's the same rodeo you'd have seen in the 70s, almost like saying it's the same baseball game you'd have seen, but it's different players, it's different stock, different results, different thrill. We throw a little thrill in there. My son is the rodeo boss, Clayton, and he says, "I'm going to sell you a seat, but you only need the edge," because we keep that action going. It's happening.
It's definitely my favorite. Yeah, absolutely. Family has always been at the center of everything you do here. How has your own family been part of building and running the rodeo and museum through the years?
Well, I mentioned earlier, my dad was part of it in 1953 when it started, and I've been part of it. I rode in the rodeo in the early 70s, and for 44 years I have the title of rodeo boss. But I have to say that I have 5 kids, and all of them have grown up in the arena. They know every inch of the arena and every inch of rodeo, and they all make their living one way or the other in the rodeo or horse business. I have one daughter, and she was an ag teacher for a year. Now she's in administration, and my other 4 boys, they're either still professional bull riders, or they own stock, or they produce rodeos, and I have 14 grandkids. And most of them, they're all in the rodeo also. They either participate. A couple of my granddaughters are professional trick riders, and everybody participates. And I had so many kids. That's my workforce. Nobody else will work for me. So I've got to make my kids and my grandkids do it. And at this year's rodeo, I'm going to have one of my 4-year-old grandson and my 4-year-old great-grandson are going to ride in the junior bronc riding.
Wow.
So we're trying to get this next generation hooked also.
Yeah, keep it going. One of the most beautiful things about the Scottsdale Rodeo is how it lifts up young athletes. Tell us about a boy or girl whose life changed because of this place, maybe someone who arrived scared and left standing strong.
Yeah, boy, there's a lot. There's a lot of kids that we have tried to help. We do what's called the Young Guns, and we take the top. We kind of, my son Clayton, doing rodeos during the year, sees the kids that really have potential, maybe not the financial ability to do it. So we do the Young Guns. We take the top 10 high school kids and put them in the limelight. They show up on time, wear a long sleeve shirt, be respectful, know how to talk on camera, and we help them to make this next stage. And I would say that Hunter Kelly might be a good example of that. His mom was world's champion bull rider, female bull rider for 6 years. And his dad was one of the great bull riders in the 60s and 70s here in Arizona, and a really good teacher of teaching bull riding. And Hunter, as a young boy, he wasn't that interested in it. And then when he got a little success, and he won the Young Guns, he's gone on to win some big rodeos. And that's
Wow.
Hunter Kelly. He's really a good example of taking a kid and that didn't have a lot of interest in it. It's in his blood,
Yeah.
but he didn't have the interest in it, and now really making something of himself. He's a great kid,
Yeah.
great kid, and good success story in the rodeo world.
Share one of your favorite quiet behind-the-scenes moments at the Rodeo Museum, something that still makes you smile or gets you a little choked up even today.
Well, a couple years ago, I had no idea they were doing this, and then my 4-year-old granddaughter, Paisley, she walks out, and she's a little fashionista anyway. She's got all this fringe on and hat, and she walks out in the middle of that arena like she owns it, and she led everybody in the Pledge of Allegiance, and it was unbelievable. There's 4,000 people in that rodeo. And they're focusing on this little girl who didn't miss a beat at 4 years old and just delivered it. And it was pretty moving for everybody, not just me, but people in the
Yeah.
stands.
Yeah.
You know, and and you seeing your own family there, but seeing the tradition being carried on, whether it's my family or friends or just people that enjoy the rodeo in Scottsdale,
Yeah.
seeing it having a future that it looks like we're going to have. That's the best part for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Walk us through a real test of grit that you've faced, maybe a tough season, a loss, or a moment when the whole community leaned on you, and what that taught you about the Western spirit.
Oh gosh, well, you know, my dad was, always a role model for us, and he stayed in really good health right until the end. He was 87 years old when he passed away, and up till 85 and a half, he was just still a pillar in the community and still a good hand. He'd still help us with horses and do things, but that last year, he tried, but he just couldn't, keep going. He just wore out. His heart just wore out, He was modern medicine. This was 2011, and he was 87 years old. So that was the hardest thing for me. I mean, all my kids are so healthy and grandkids, and just so happy and to see them enjoy the lifestyle. But the loss of my dad was tough. It was tough for all of us. He was just such a pillar. I don't know if pillar's the right word, but everybody in Scottsdale that knew Jack.
Yeah. Well, I think you've done an amazing job continuing this on, so I'm sure he's looking down
I'm sure appreciate
and
it.
proud of you. So, the rodeo's changed a lot since when you started. What traditions or values from the old days do you still make sure every young athlete learns when they go through it here?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. That's what we look at for these young kids. Show up on time, pay your entry fees. If you come to party and drink and chase women and that's your goal, you're not going to last very long. If you come and take it seriously, hey, we don't say don't have fun. Everybody has fun in the rodeo. If you're not having fun in anything in life, you're not going to do it anymore. If you're playing football or soccer or whatever, you got to have fun, but you got to be respectful of the sport and the guys that came before you. And be respectful and enjoy it. And I think that rodeo has a great future because of these respectful kids. You watch them. You watch these kids when they get introduced to somebody, they'll tip their hat or they'll shake your hand and they'll look you in the eye. It's a good sign for America right now.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's, for me, that's so. I think so many people are getting back into the sport is because a lot of other sports, aren't turning out the greatest role models.
Don't have that respect for. Yeah, they think it's their stage for their personal views of things, and that's fine at some stage. But you be respectful of the sport, and that's
the
what we
people
look
in
for.
the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the tradition.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. You lose tradition, you lose it all. You got to have that basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back over the decades of stories, what's the one accomplishment or moment at the rodeo or here at the museum that fills you with the deepest pride? What's your biggest accomplishment? Was it?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Let me think. So, me personally, when I got my gold card, you have to be 20 years in the PRCA, and I got a gold card in 2004, I think it was. So that was 20 years, and I cherish that gold card. And also gets me into any rodeo in the country for free, so I like that part. But and I just have so much respect for them. I didn't know I was going to live this long and stay this healthy to keep doing it. And so having a gold card is, and there's so many other people in our rodeo community that have earned it too. Our rodeo committee, there's a whole lot of young people in there, but there's a handful of us old timers that really keep our hand on the throttle and keep things moving right. So, I'm not about accomplishments, but to be acknowledged with my gold card was really emotional and great thing for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like the what is it, the Masters jacket?
Yeah, a little Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something. At least get nominated,
Yeah. From where you sit today, what does the real American dream look like through your eyes? The honest version, not the highlight reel one.
One more to explain it just a tad.
Yeah, what is chasing the American dream look like?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I got you.
For you and someone who's been through everything you've been through, for you've seen the times change, you've seen this city change. What has it meant to you, and what do you, because a lot of people think it's just like this, thing that gets handed to you on a golden platter, and it's, so.
Yeah. No, and I see it in my grandkids. They have the desire and the knowledge and the husbandry, the animal husbandry, to know if you put that horse in that horse pen, you got to feed it, you got to water it, you got to clean it up after it. It's your responsibility. I don't care if it's 4th of July, Christmas Day, every day in between. You can't say, I don't want to do it today. Mm-hmm. So I see these kids that understand that, that the horse, the animals come first. Winning a belt buckle and standing in the limelight and getting a gold card is fantastic, but you wouldn't have done it without those animals. So the animal husbandry and respect for the animal, the bucking horses, even the steers, the roping steers, you have to take care of them first. And that's the legacy of it, because they say, no cowboy, no rodeo. I say no animals, no rodeo.
Yeah.
There's always the cowboys coming up. But if the herd keeps getting thinner and thinner, so we got to take care of the animal, teach these kids respect for the animals, and I think the rodeo business will be just fine.
Yeah, and that's it's amazing, because that's one thing that a lot of outsiders outside of this community and the rodeo community, they don't understand of how much respect and care and compassion that people like you and in this rodeo community have towards the animals. A lot of people want to say it's it's the complete opposite, and that couldn't be further from the truth of how much that is the heart and soul of
rodeo.
Of what
Absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
If you take what it takes nowadays to be a rodeo cowboy is, if you're a bull rider, bronc rider, you get 3 or 4 guys in a van, you split the cost of the money, and you travel from rodeo to rodeo. And you do a couple things when you're a roughie, when you're the rough stock guy. You ride with guys that are as good or better than you, so somebody's going to win some money. Somebody's going to be able to buy McDonald's and get some gas. And you also make sure they're the same size as you, so when you run out of clean underwear and socks, you can raid their suitcase. But that's the roughies, Now, if you're a timed event person and you got to have a truck, trailer, horses, that's where it gets expensive. You're going to spend $100,000 a year as a rough stock guy traveling to rodeos. if you're a roughie, that's what it costs. If you're a timed event guy or a barrel racer, breakaway, roper, double that. Because now you got a truck, trailer, feed. Those horses can't stay in the trailer all night. You got to stop and put them up someplace. It's a challenge. You really, really got to want to be a barrel racer or a roper these days, because it's not easy. And you can't, if you don't travel, if you stay that's why they have the turquoise cert. You can stay in Arizona, New Mexico. There's still a lot of travel. $200,000 a year minimum to chase the dream of a gold buckle. Now, if you get to the national finals, there's a lot of money can be made every day, but you might not make money every day there. It's still a gamble.
Yeah.
So we got to look after those rodeo cowboys and cowgirls that roll the dice. It's a cowboy way. And you get to a rodeo that people don't understand. You get to a rodeo, they say, he won $10,000 at Scottsdale Rodeo. No, he didn't. He paid money. You have to pay money to try to win that money.
Yeah.
You know, a football player or a baseball player, they get paid to show up and then they get a hang down, they don't play. But you're a rodeo cowboy, you got to give your money. That's the cowboy mentality. We'll all put our money in the hat, and the winner gets most of the money, and everybody else goes down the road. And hopefully you'll get the next one. So it's the rodeo cowboy is such a unique athlete, you know, that they're not guaranteed nothing. Oh, they might have a sponsor or two that gives them gas money, but not enough to keep them going. You got to win some money. Excuse me. And it's a hard life. It's a hard life. It's a young person's dream. You got to really want it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I respect so much about what you do with, you know, and what you've done with the Scottsdale Rodeo, because it's, you know, those athletes are, you know, it isn't about making money or, you know, running a business or anything else. It's preserving the sport and the culture, and how much you guys prioritize, you know,
absolutely
those athletes. So,
yeah.
You know, I didn't tell you this beforehand, but, you know, we're gonna have this on YouTube, and hopefully this story gets a lot of views. But
yeah, no, absolutely.
All the proceeds that we get from.
Yes, thank you so much. I do talk a lot, but I didn't.
Yeah, but it's new for us, but any revenue that we generate off the views on this YouTube, we're going to donate 100%.
Well, we appreciate you.
And for you to keep doing that. So
yeah, and you come last year was when I first met you, and I saw your desire and your love for the sport. And that's what we need. We need people like you that understands what's going on. And, you know, we love our big major sponsors, Wrangler and Justin and Pendleton and everything. That's fantastic. But if you don't have that grassroots, you can't survive. You got to have that cooperation and that friendship with sponsors. And we're individuals. Anybody that wants to be part of it, you know. That's what I try to do this rodeo without really relying on big sponsorship money. We try to keep our rodeo tickets reasonable, so you can bring your family of 4 kids and whatever. It doesn't cost you, you know, a month's pay. We try to keep it reasonable, and we're the cheapest. We're the most inexpensive rodeo probably in the whole Phoenix area, maybe even Arizona. And we have a big expense with the building and stuff we use, but we make it work. So a sponsor to me is not all about the almighty dollar, it's about support.
Yeah.
And that's what we really appreciate what you guys are doing and with us. So
yeah. And we'll make sure, because, you know, this video will be, you know, shown to a lot of people across the country, and a lot of people that won't be able to make it out to the rodeo. But we'll definitely set up a link where if anyone that's watching wants to donate anything in addition.
Absolutely.
Because you said it perfectly earlier that the sport wouldn't exist without the animals. Yeah. And that's true, right? I mean, these events can't go on if it's not for the animals and the athletes that are participating and putting in it, and how much that they, you know, it's not some big NFL, you know, organization that's paying for all this and merch and everything else. It's, you know, a lot of people not only going out there and risking their lives, but risking everything, you know, putting everything on the line and putting that blood, sweat, and tears and grit into showing up there. That's, you know, it's not Yeah.
Their families at home. They leave their families at home to go rodeoing to try to make money, and they try to get home when they can. Maybe they got a crop that needs to be in, or some calves that need to be branded, and but they got to chase that. They got to chase that world championship, or at least make the national finals.
Yeah.
And then it makes it all worth it. But in my other the last point I'd like to make about that is, you need the animals, you need the cowboys, but without rodeo committees, there'd be no rodeos.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to put their neck on the chopping block. Someone on Sunday night has to write all those checks.
Yep.
So rodeo cowboys, it's like you can't do it without them. But there's another guy right behind you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And same thing with horses. I mean, I got this new prospect calf horse. He's fantastic. There's always horses coming up. What you don't have anymore is rodeo committees coming up. There's no backup. There's no next generation. So that's kind of my goal, is to get these kids, and you don't have to be a rodeo
leadership roles,
but get interested in it and get on a rodeo committee and volunteer your time. And the next thing you know, you might be running a rodeo somewheres in small town USA or big town USA.
Yeah.
It don't matter. But get involved with the rodeo committees, and they're the ones that really, really take the chance and generate the money to keep rodeo going.
Well, and just put all the work setting up too, because I was fortunate enough to be out there last year while you guys were setting up and help out a little bit. And
that's my slave labor. That's right.
Yeah.
You give them pizza, beer, and soda pop, they'll work their butt off.
And I'm more than happy to come and help more this year. But
absolutely.
It's definitely fun. But it's good seeing that community and your family and everyone coming together and just even bringing their expertise, like getting the speaker set up and it's,
we got everything from computer nerds to backhoe operators to tractor drivers to engineers to labor. I need to dig this hole. Okay. All right, Paul. I'll dig.
Yeah. Almost done here.
No worries.
If you can go back and sit down with that young Dave who was just starting out, what one piece of advice would you give him about life, leadership, and legacy?
Well, about life, I would say buy that property in Scottsdale. Or now Bitcoin, but kidding. But, just don't take life so serious. Don't let the past bring you down, because you can't change it. And don't let the future keep you from going to sleep at night, because things are going to happen in the future. Prepare for them, but don't obsess about the future. Live for today, enjoy it. Watch those kids climbing on that horse at 5 and 6 years old, carrying the American flag, doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and enjoy the day. Enjoy what you got right now, because nobody knows the future. Don't worry about the future. That's what everybody has anxiety over.
Yeah.
And you got to let that go.
Yeah. It's God's plan.
Absolutely.
Closing question here. What legacy do you hope the Scottsdale Rodeo and the museum here leave behind, not just for Scottsdale, but for every family and every kid who walks through these gates?
To don't miss the forest for the trees. There's a lot of stuff out there that you see day to day, and then in 20 years you go, man, I missed that, or I wish I'd have done that, or whatever. Enjoy the day. Don't bypass those small things, My kids, half of them play guitar, and the other ones are carrying one around all the time. And they'll, when they get big enough, they'll learn. So that's something I'd love to pass on to those kids. Some of them have a natural ability, some of them have to work harder at it, but they all pretty much show an interest in it. So give them something. Give them something that makes them feel good about themselves, their accomplishments. Make them earn it. Don't hand them nothing. That everybody gets a trophy thing was bad for society. Earn it, and we'll this country be in good hands.
Yeah, absolutely. We need more Dave Alfords in our future for sure.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Where can people reach out and find you on social media or website, and kind of just tell us about the upcoming rodeo?
I'm not the greatest social media guy, but Charlotte, my daughter-in-law, she does it all. But all my whole team does it. But RodeoScottsdale.com will take you to a link to the rodeo, the museum, everything that we got going on. So just Rodeo Scottsdale. We'll always be Parada del Sol. That's our name. That's our official name. That's our nonprofit. It has been since 1953. Parada del Sol. But our social media is RodeoScottsdale.com.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll provide links in the description below for where people can follow.
And, we have Instagram
and get tickets
all that
and stuff.
But
the rodeo is coming up here in a few days, so if you want to get tickets, or if not, come out. There's also a spring one. Correct that you guys?
We do September.
September.
Yeah.
September
fall
1,
rodeo. We do a fall rodeo. We started doing a fall rodeo because so many people. So this rodeo that's coming up next week in March is a lot of people here for baseball.
Yeah.
So they're not locals. So I would get, it's sold out. It's sold out. I wanted to bring my kids and grandkids, and I went to high school with them, whatever. So we get them in. We figure out standing room only, or whatever, however we can do it. But so we started doing this second rodeo in September, the week after Labor Day, because the fans want it, and the Cowboys need it, and their interest is there, and the support from the sponsors and the ticket sales. We pull it off. It's close, but we pulled it off for the last couple of years. So we're going to continue on with it and see if we can't build that up and more for the locals. It's hot outside. It's still 105 degrees, but it's indoors at Westworld. And guess what? There's air conditioning. They hit that switch, and it's nice in there.
Yeah.
So the weather really doesn't hurt us.
Yeah.
People don't like to do things when it's hot, but it's the week after Labor Day. They're ready to do stuff.
Yeah.
So we're really hoping that we call it the Westmost Western Rodeo after the Westmost Western town of Scottsdale. So the Westmost Western Rodeo is coming again strong the weekend after Labor Day in 2026, the year of 250th anniversary of America. So we're going to start celebrating at this rodeo this weekend and all the way through to our other rodeo in September. And God bless America, and we're going to prove it in the rodeo world.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, Dave, it's been an honor to meet you and know you for a little over a year now, and I hope to continue that. And thank you for sitting down and kind of telling us your story and sharing your history.
Your support.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're an all-American story yourself with your product and your story, and the Sackett Ranch is people should look into it a little bit deeper and really look at your stories also. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
thank you,
my friend.
You bet. Thank you.
You.
I'm gonna let it pull me up there.